und herzlich willkommen zum heutigen Webinar. Diesmal zum Thema Content Marketing. Wir stellen euch die Trends aus Südostasien vor. Mein Name ist Katrin Roseneder und ich bin Teil des Teams der Kreativwirtschaft Austria und freue mich sehr, dass ich das heutige Webinar wieder moderieren darf. Unsere Webinarreihe veranstalten wir, die Kreativwirtschaft Austria, gemeinsam mit der Außenwirtschaft Austria. Das ist die Exportagentur der Wirtschaftskammer. Und so können wir auch heute wieder aus einem internationalen oder beziehungsweise heute aus 2 internationalen Kreativwirtschafts-Hotspots live berichten. Diesmal aus Südost-Asien, konkret aus Manila und Singapur, denn dort ist bereits über die Hälfte der Bevölkerung aktive Social-Media-Nutzer. Deswegen auch das Thema Content Marketing. Aus unserem 8. österreichischen Kreativwirtschaftsbericht wissen wir, dass gerade Kreativunternehmen als Early Adopter innovative Trends aus aller Welt scouten, sich selbst aneignen und diese dann auch in die österreichische Wirtschaft bringen und dadurch eben einen wichtigen Beitrag zur Wettbewerbsfähigkeit des Wirtschaftsstandorts Österreich leisten. Ja, und genau da setzen wir mit unserer Webinarreihe an. Wir wollen euch dabei unterstützen, diese Trends kennenzulernen und widmen uns deshalb heute dem Thema innovative Trends, neue Ideen im Bereich Content und Influencer Marketing. Kurz zum Ablauf des heutigen Webinars, was euch erwartet. Gleich zu Beginn übergebe ich dann das Wort in die Philippinen oder auf die Philippinen an Christina Stieber vom Außenwirtschaftscenter Manila. Sie wird euch einen kurzen Überblick über den Wirtschaftsmarkt Philippinen geben, euch die Serviceleistungen der Außenwirtschaft Austria vorstellen und dann direkt das Wort an Baus Rufus geben. Er ist Vice President von GetCraft, einem Kreativunternehmen, das er dann kurz vorstellen wird, sein innovatives Geschäftsmodell erklären wird und uns einen Überblick über die Trends im Bereich Content und Influencer Marketing auf den Philippinen bzw. generell in Südostasien geben wird. Direkt im Anschluss schauen wir dann nach Singapur. Das Wort werde ich dann übergeben an David Bachmann. Er ist Wirtschaftsdelegierter in Singapur, stellt uns kurz die aktuellen Entwicklungen in dem Land Singapur vor. Und dann haben wir einen Input, einen Insight in Honesty durch Yilin Tan. Sie ist Head of Content dort und stellt uns ihr Unternehmen vor. Und es wird in die Richtung gehen, welche aktuellen Trends gibt es im Bereich E-Commerce und Social Commerce. Ja, und bevor wir jetzt gleich starten mit dem Webinar, noch kurz ein Hinweis. In circa 1 bis 2 Wochen schicken wir euch dann das Video des heutigen Webinars samt den Präsentationsfolien zu und damit ihr wisst, dass ihr alle Informationen auch zur Verfügung bekommt. Wenn ihr jetzt während dem Webinar schon Fragen habt an unsere Sprecherinnen und Sprecher, stellt sie bitte in der Chat-Funktion und wir werden sie dann in der anschließenden Diskussionsrunde, das wird so in circa 30 bis 40 Minuten sein, an die Sprecherinnen und Sprecher stellen. In dem Sinn wünsche ich euch jetzt schon viel Inspiration und ihr gebt gleich das Wort an Christina nach Manila.
Ja, wunderbar. Herzlich willkommen an alle, die uns in Österreich zuhören. Mein Name ist, wie schon gesagt, Christina Stieber. Ich bin die Wirtschaftsdelegierte hier auf den Philippinen in Manila. Für die, die schon mehrmals an unseren Webinaren oder mit der Kreativwirtschaft teilgenommen haben, die wissen bereits, wir sind die Außenwirtschaft Austria mit 110 Standorten in mehr als 70 Ländern und wir sind da vor Ort, um euch bei eurem Export, bei eurer Internationalisierung zur Seite zu stehen und euch zu helfen. Das beginnt mit einer Geschäftspartnersuche, das beginnt mit Informationen zum Markt selbst, bis hin auch, wenn ihr hier auf den Markt kommt, auch bei Begleitungen zu Terminen, die ihr habt und bei Geschäftsanbahnung an sich. Ich habe ein paar kurze Slides vorbereitet, damit ihr auch seht, um was es sich heute handelt, um was wir reden, nämlich Märkte und nicht so sehr die aktuellen Märkte, sondern die digitalen Märkte. Das ist das, worauf wir uns heute konzentrieren wollen. Und Südostasien ist ja, gerade was das anbelangt, auch ein Vorreiter weltweit. Wir haben 600 Millionen Einwohner, wovon mehr als die Hälfte davon Social Media User sind. Und für die Philippinen selbst sind das mit 67 Millionen nahezu 70% der Bevölkerung. Was hier auf dem Markt auch noch besonders interessant ist, ist einerseits nicht nur die Tatsache, dass die Bevölkerung irrsinnig jung ist, also wir reden gerade von den Philippinen von einem Durchschnittsalter von 23 Jahren, sondern es ist auch eine Bevölkerung, die extrem konsumorientiert ist und auch extrem affin, was was Social Media anbelangt, was Mobile Phones anbelangt, etc. Also das ist für die kein Accessoire mehr, das ist das Leben mit den Smartphones. Zudem gibt es auch hier eine Rising Wave of Middle Class. Also man erwartet sich allein in den nächsten Jahren, dass Millionen von Menschen ein verfügbares Einkommen von über 300 Milliarden Euro haben werden und das konsumorientiert natürlich auch sehr stark ausgeben werden. Was das Smartphone-Verwendung anbelangt, mit Sicherheit diese Region hier top weltweit. 4 Stunden pro Tag ist der Durchschnitt, den Südostasiatinnen und Asiaten mit dem Smartphone verbringen. Auch ein Hotspot für E-Commerce natürlich in der Folge davon. Wir werden kurz mit meinem Co-Vortragenden hier kurz über Content Marketing sprechen, auch um euch auch zu sagen, was sich hier abtut oder was sich hier tut in dieser Region. Kurz von meiner Seite noch, bevor ich dann das Wort an Baus gebe, was sind denn so die Trends, die gerade in diesem Jahr in Südostasien Content Marketing und Social Media Marketing vor sich gehen? Das ist einerseits Video is King. Also da ohne Video geht kaum mehr etwas. Das ist Südostasien ein Vorreiter, absolut bei den Zugriffszahlen von Videos auf mobilen Endgeräten. Mobile First, wir haben das auch schon mehrmals erwähnt, auch Katrin hat das schon erwähnt, fünf der Top 10 Märkte für den Smartphone-Gebrauch und die Social-Media-Durchdringung sind in dieser Region, sind in Asien zu finden. Groß wird dieses Jahr das Stories-Format werden, also Snapchat, Facebook Stories, hochladen, 24 Stunden lang, be fun, be entertaining, be interactive with your friends. Das sind so die Trends, die sich jetzt abspielen. Und dann Micro-Influencers werden immer wichtiger werden. Und dazu wird ja auch Baus dann noch etwas erzählen zum Thema Friends oder Influencers schlechthin. Und dann Native Advertising als ein Thema, das hier mit Sicherheit auch immer wieder noch immer wichtiger wird. Hier gilt es dann auch zu sehen, wie man das in seiner eigenen Marketingkampagne dann noch umändert oder anwendet. Ich habe jetzt die große Freude, dass ich Baus euch vorstelle. Baus war, wie Katrin schon erwähnt hat, Vice President for Strategic Services at GetCraft. GetCraft ist der bedeutendste Content Market Facilitator Vendor hier in Südostasien. Und er wird euch nun Näheres zum Thema Content Marketing und Influencer Marketing erzählen. Thank you very much, Baus, for being here, for sharing all your insights and knowledge about the market. Thank you. The floor is yours.
All right. Okay. Oh, hi. So good morning to everyone there in Austria. So basically what I'm here to show you is that what Christina mentioned earlier, you know, stories are trends, micro-influencers and videos are all trends. At the end of the day, we have to go back to fundamental human truths and how we will make use of platforms such as Facebook and Instagram to tell effective stories and at the end of the day really win the consumers' hearts and then eventually make good business with them. So very quickly for the next 15 minutes, what I'll be showing you are just some of the theories that we've sort of seen in place, but that doesn't mean that these are the only rules that you can adhere to when you do practice digital marketing. At the end of the day, these are just guides. You can use these as rules that you can follow or rules that you eventually want to break and, you know, go off tangent, because that's the beauty with digital marketing. There's room for creativity. There's room to just really do anything that you want with it. So first I'll talk about the digital starter pack, meaning what are the basic tools that you would need to have if you are a business who wants to do digital marketing. Next is content marketing. So how does this really play into how you market to the consumers, and how does this differ in terms of how consumers were used to marketing before the advent of the digital age. Third, it's more of a strategic exercise in creating content with focus. And then later on, I'll breeze through how to formulate an influencer marketing strategy. And the last part of my presentation is really measuring campaign performance. That's the beauty with digital. You really get to measure everything from how many people have been viewing you, how many people have been going to your website, and the likes. Okay, so our challenge really is how do we create compelling content to truly harness the power of digital for our businesses? I'm sure everyone back home has been hearing digital is not the future, digital is now, video is king, content is queen. There are so many buzzwords out there. So how do we start in terms of doing digital for our businesses? Okay, so the digital starter pack. If you are a business, the basic tools you would really need to have are basically Facebook, Instagram, and a website. Why? For Facebook, really, it's really for reach. It's really there to make sure that you cast a wide net with your market, reaching as many people as possible and engaging with your target audience. The main formats here are photos and videos. Um, the different formats you can pursue on Facebook, you can do social cards, or these are the usual images that you see a lot of brands doing. Sometimes they try to ride on holidays or very popular pop culture happenings right now. So with social cards, you get to deliver simple key messages, announcements, and reminders. In Facebook, you can also do infographics. I'm sure you've been seeing that there are a lot of galleries or image galleries on Facebook that when you look at them, they almost look like an infographic. So this is when you need to create longer form information, or if you need to communicate heavier messages. Of course, Facebook is also a great platform for video, where you can give explainer videos, emotional content, really long form video that go beyond the usual 30-second spot in a TV commercial. Instagram really is there to inspire. Sometimes I even tell my clients that it really is there as a means to escape. So these are bite-sized inspirational content, and then eventually linking out the different websites through the use of photos, stories, and videos. The different formats you can pursue on Instagram are basically inspirational content, photo albums. You can post either photos or videos on the feed. But then right now, what really is big is stories. So it's shorter form and it only lasts for about 24 hours and they run for just about 15 seconds per story. But the great thing about this is that if you have a compelling enough story, you can actually put a link into that story, swipe it up, and then eventually drive traffic to the website. So I'm sure you guys have been seeing this when there is a new promo for a beauty product or for a laundry detergent. If they give you a nice ad to really to make sure that there is instant gratification, you can immediately swipe up and go to the e-commerce site. Of course, Instagram is also ideal for videos such as explainers and emotional content. Websites mainly are there to convince. The way to look at this is that you can have Facebook and Instagram accounts at first, but ultimately it's not going to be cost efficient or sustainable if you keep relying on them. The way to look at this is basically if you have a website, you're owning a house. If you have Facebook or Instagram, you're renting something. Ideally, you build enough traffic on Facebook and Instagram that will eventually be referred to your website, so that eventually you will have to rely less on boosting budget. So a website gives you credibility, it gives the official content of the brand, and ultimately this is where you can put articles, blogs, and different links. So if you were to start doing digital marketing tomorrow, these are the 3 basic things you need to get started with. So in the website, you can put there your profile. So again, all about credibility, what your company is about, mission, vision, company values. Your articles are there if you want to tell them all about the technology or innovation, the different ingredients that you have, for example, for a particular formulation that you are carrying, event roundups, and eventually official inquiry, lead generation. At the end of the day, we really want to generate leads. You want people to inquire about our businesses, and that really is best displayed in a website. So just to recap, Facebook is really there to reach and engage, Instagram is there to inspire, and websites are there to convince. So now that we know all that, how does this all play into content marketing? So what is basically content marketing? If before we were so used to seeing a TV commercial, seeing a billboard, or hearing an advertisement on the radio before going to the store, this time it really is you see something online, you see a piece of content, sometimes it's a product review, sometimes it's just a very funny video, but somehow it actually convinces you to buy something. So that is really the goal of content. Content are basically pieces of information that take on many forms. So we interact with them and learn from them on a daily basis. Again, this can range from videos, photos, or articles. But how does this differentiate mainly from the usual advertising that we see? So sorry, I will move here first. So content marketing is actually a strategic marketing approach focused on creating and distributing valuable, relevant, and consistent content to attract and retain a clearly defined audience, and ultimately to drive profitable customer action. So we are all allergic to ads that immediately tell you, hey, buy me, I'm only this much. So with content marketing, it really is all about making sure that you have a better informed consumer. That's why you're seeing a lot of beauty brands right now doing a lot of articles on how to do no makeup in as short as 5 minutes, or the 5 easiest ways to basically make sure you have a very clean laundry. So it's a lot of tips, a lot of empowering the consumer, because that really is what content is about. Ultimately, our consumers these days are discerning enough to know that if you do give them a valuable piece of information, you will eventually earn their loyalty. And how is that displayed? Content can be harnessed to address different objectives, not just sales. The beauty with digital and content is that before, if a TV commercial is just basic, if there's one 30-second material meant to inform, engage, and eventually convince someone, with content, you can do so many things. So this is basically what we call a consumer journey or a customer funnel. Everybody stops at the top part, awareness, and then eventually, when a brand got you curious about its offerings, you now look at the videos, how it works, and as you move down the funnel, you purchase it, and then they earn your loyalty. So that's basically how content marketing works. It's making sure that at every stage of the funnel, you get to provide a piece of content. For example, for awareness, most likely you'll be giving them a video that has high entertainment value, where you're not selling them, where you're not very hard sell yet. Then consideration, you slowly give them tips, you take on a more serious tone, to really make sure that, oh, okay, this is really the value that the product offers. And eventually, when you get to purchase, that's when you give them testimonials, competitive comparisons. Sometimes it even goes as far as giving them promo codes. So I'm sure some of us are already guilty of getting that first trial promo code just to try to be smart when it comes to our purchases. So that is content marketing. It's making sure that at every stage of the funnel, there is a piece of content. And this funnel is universal, whether you are from United States, Austria, or Manila. Everybody goes through this journey. Just because you saw a nice piece of jewelry doesn't mean you're going to buy it right away. It's going to take you some time. You're going to simmer, and then eventually going to research about a particular product before you actually buy it. And hopefully, when you do consider these things, you are interacting with relevant content that you have produced, so that eventually the customer buys. So how do we create content with focus? So basically, I shortened the consumer funnel here by awareness, consideration, purchase, and retention. So the goal and approach are here, and there are some examples of how you're going to do it. I'm not going to go through them one by one. You can just ask me later on when we open this up for questions. But basically, this is an easy guide if you want to make sure that you are producing a good variety of content, but making sure that you properly recognize every stage of the consumer funnel. Now, how do we put that into an example? For example, you are actually thinking of buying a new phone, the Samsung Galaxy S9. First, you actually hear about it from a friend's social media that, they took good pictures, and then you ask the person, hey, you took so many good pictures during your last trip to Bali. What phone did you use? And immediately your friend tells you, oh, I actually used a Samsung Galaxy S9. And then now you're curious, oh, Samsung Galaxy S9. Yeah, I think I'm considering buying a new phone. So now you go to YouTube, you look for reviews. Now you go to trusted publishers who give you like a blow-by-blow of how it is the best phone against the iPhone, against other brands. So that's where content comes in. You talk to sometimes influencers, sometimes you produce your own original content to keep convincing the consumer why you are of great value. And then ultimately, when you go to the own website, if you really want to check all the information the product has to offer, everything is there. How many megapixels its camera has, how much battery life it has. And eventually, once you go through this stage, from when you heard about it, from your friend's social media to going to the website, you more or less have already interacted with about 3 to 5 pieces of content. And then when you're ready to make that informed decision, you now go to the actual store or buy it online and then purchase a particular product. So basically, this is how we do it these days. We spend so much time online. So if we're spending less and less time watching TV, listening to the radio, advertisers now have to evolve and basically be chameleons in terms of how they're going to advertise in such a native way that it's not disruptive, and at the end of the day, it really empowers the consumers through very informative and valuable content. This is another framework that you can use as a guide in terms of what are the different types of contents that you can do. So your x-axis here basically says from awareness to action. So it's basically from something entertaining to something inspiring. Your y-axis here is basically from emotional to rational. So these are just, again, other content formats that you can do. You can do a quiz in a infographic format. You can do a testimonial in a video format. So again, these are options for you to choose from should you want to get started doing digital content. Here are some examples that we've done. So very quickly, for example, for Samsung, an example of an entertaining content is we produce a Samsung Mother's Day video. So we barely talked about the product. We just featured moms and kids having a great time cooking, and we were actually promoting the newest Samsung refrigerator, which is behind them. So if you want to take a look at it, it's in the Samsung Philippines Facebook video. But basically, that's a type of entertaining content compared to your usual, hey, this is the TV, it has about 45 inches and it has X megapixels. You start with something very human first, something very entertaining. Another example of entertaining content. So McDonald's here has a drink called McFree. So it's basically a drink made of ice and has flavors. But since they wanted to tap a younger segment, this is the segment that rarely watches TV. Most of the time, they really are online. So what we did was we collaborated with a lot of comic book influencers who created their own stories. And the client's mandate was just in one frame of your comic, just put there the latest McFreeze. So very, it's very subtle, but you can argue that it's actually very high impact and very native at the end of the day. This is for one of our clients. It's a real estate brand called pursuitofpassion.ph. The main idea here is that this real estate brand is really positioned for the upwardly mobile middle class. So they are people who really they make sure that they keep dreaming bigger dreams. And ultimately, that big goal is really buying a piece of real estate. So what we do is regularly, we publish about 20 to 30 pieces of content ranging from articles and videos telling them different ways to save money, how to save up for your condo. If you do own a condo, what are some budget-friendly things that you can actually do with it? So again, it's really empowering the people or your readers before you actually tell them, hey, buy me. At the end of the day, you want to make sure that you want to be able to give value and not just a great product. So this is something that we do for them. It's called pursuitofpassion.ph. So this generates a lot of traffic, which you can argue, which ranges from awareness down to about consideration. And eventually we direct them to the brand website when they're already ready to talk to a sales agent and purchase a condo. One of our pharmaceutical clients called Rogen E, it's a multivitamins for men. It's very, very easy. Basically, with just a simple stock photo subscription and a graphic designer who just graduated from university, they can make something like this. So sometimes you talk about DNO, which is basically one of its proprietary ingredients, but sometimes it's a tip on how to groom yourself properly. So it ranges from sometimes hard sell materials, and sometimes it's just really like, how do you make sure that you look dashing for your next date? Again, you really try to dig into what your consumer needs other than your product. So for influencer marketing, since I'm running out of time, basically in a nutshell, it's the same principle as how I gave content marketing. It all comes down to a communication objective. And as much as we want to sell right away, we have to understand that we cannot overwhelm the consumer. Sometimes they just really need to know the brand name first. Let that simmer, and then eventually tell them, okay, these are the features. And then let that simmer again, and eventually tell them, okay, I am the most competitive in terms of my pricing. So again, it's a longer journey, definitely, but ultimately it is what you need to do to win the loyalty of your consumer. So the slides here, which you have with you, are pretty straightforward, but if you do have questions later on, just feel free to bring them up. So
maybe if you just run the slide before, if there's something where you can also say, what is GetCraft, the company you're working for, because they are big on influencer marketing.
Yes.
That's what your core is. Yeah. Well, what is it that you can offer, or how do you approach influencer marketing?
The approach to influencer marketing basically is that, for example, you're brand A, you are a travel brand. If you are a travel brand, you're basically talking to everyone. But how do you make sure that you operationalize it in such a way that it's very strategic? So that means you talk to travel influencers, male lifestyle influencers, female lifestyle, and parents. And then when you give specific influencer names under that category, it's making sure that we give you the right number of influencers. Because these days we're talking about a brand engages about 10 to 30 influencers in one go. It's not very smart if everyone is just under one category. You won't be able to maximize your reach. So for GetCraft, if you go to getcraft.com, that's basically where you can look for the right content creators, whether it's an influencer or a publisher. You can segment them according to price points if you're on a budget, or to interest points if you really want to make sure that you have a strong brand image coming in. So if you want to look at lifestyle influencers or content creators that you can work with, feel free to look at getcraft.com and send us a message. There.
Thank you. So here we go. That was from our side. You will also get in the publication slides that we're going to provide you with at the end of the seminar. You get much more information on, additional information on influencer marketing and content marketing. Here we'll provide that, as Katrin said at the beginning, we'll provide that to you at the end of the seminar. And here, that was it from Manila. We are looking forward to the second leg of the webinar, and this is going to be from Singapore. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much, Christina. Thank you very much, Baus, for sharing your knowledge and your insights. We already got many questions for you, Baus, but we will take them later to the discussion round. So for now, I'll say bye to you, to the Philippines, and you will come back in approximately like 15 to 20 minutes for the discussion round. So thank you for now. And now we look to a different country, to Singapore, where David Bachmann will give us a short introduction about the market, and we will then get some insights on Honestbee, the company from Yilin Tan. And she said that we create content not just to sell, but to delight and excite. And we are already looking forward to hear from Yilin later on what she exactly means with that, or how she takes this sentence into the business model of Honestbee. So for now, I give the word to David, to Singapore. We're looking forward to your input.
Yeah, welcome and good morning from Singapore. Singapore is the creative hub of Southeast Asia. And if you look back like couple of decades ago, you would only come to Singapore to do shopping. The most famous thing was go to Orchard Road and do some camera shopping or some electronics. And in the last decades, the government has worked a lot in changing this image and giving more content on arts, multimedia, design, architecture, landscaping. And this has made Singapore now to become one of the top 10 creative cities in the world, although only having 6 million people. Now, what has contributed to it was having festivals in the region, building clusters, creative clusters, like for instance Mediopolis for the media scene, and putting a lot of money also in everything that comes with creative industries development. Now going to the next slide, I want to show you shortly the ranking also of the whole region. And as you can see, the red figure is the overall ranking of the yearly edited creative industries ranking. And you can see Singapore is number 9 in overall ranking. You could see it could be much better if the figure tolerance rank would be a bit higher. And actually, that's a bit of a point in the whole region, because also if you look at Malaysia, Thailand and Philippines, you can see that the first 2 figures, which is technology and the talent rank, are quite high, and only because of the tolerance rank, that's kind of a symptom of the region. The overall figure is a bit lower. Yes, that's a short introduction about creative industries in Southeast Asia, and I'm happy to introduce Yilin Tan from Honestbee. Honestbee falls also, in a wider sense, under creative industry when it comes to media and the way they do interact with media. Honestbee is one of the fastest growing Singaporean companies, and I've visited their store just a couple of weeks ago called Habitat. And actually, Honestbee is an online retailer, but also has offline, meaning real stores. And the combination is something really new. And what you can do there is actually also what many other retailers have tried already, but maybe not in that perfection, is really to scan in your articles and then automatically have them, I mean, you still can put them in your trolley and check them out, and they will be scanned through, and you receive them at going out of the supermarket. You can have them delivered at your home. And what I find really fascinating of this system is how online and offline is being combined, because I mean, in Austria, for instance, you have a lot of offline real, I mean, like the old-fashioned retailers, then also many online retailers. But in this concept, what I like a lot is really the combination. And I know that also in Singapore, a lot of multimedia and social media work had and has to be done. And I mean, by now, Honestbee is really one of the big brands in Singapore. And I welcome Yilin Tan, head of content of Honestbee, to tell us a bit about how you achieved to get such a market brand penetration and what the further development of Honestbee are. So I give the floor to Yilin.
Thank you, David. So first, I would like to thank David for the invite, and of course, everybody for joining me in the session today. So one of the key things that I want to talk about is the trends in e-commerce in Southeast Asia. So the first that David has briefly mentioned is new gen retail. And for us, new gen retail is really about how we can fully integrate the online and offline experience. The second trend that I'd like to speak about is the focus on last mile delivery. And lastly, the third trend that I would like to mention is social commerce. So, what is exactly is new gen retail? So the biggest differentiation between online and offline retail is actually the ability to track, collect, monitor, and manage information all in real time. New gen retail is the answer to providing the best of both worlds for our customers. We want to find the data that has to do with people, their experience, their behavior, what they like, what they buy, and binding this online data to real people. Having a physical retail store is a great way of building closer relationship with customers. Competition in the e-commerce space is heating up, and retailers can no longer rely on just one channel for our business. The key is diversifications in channel, which provides additional customer touch points that shows how the brand can still interact with customers and at the same time provide them with excellent customer support that increase their brand loyalty. Currently, a lot of brands have turned to online acquisition methods such as Google or Facebook to acquire new users, but we have also known that the online acquisition channels are becoming saturated and there's now diminishing returns. And as more retailers advertise on Google and Facebook, the cost of online advertising is also increasing, which is why a physical space is actually a great way to acquire new customers. So for this, I will show a video of how our auto checkout at Habitat by Honestbee works. So in this video, you can see that we are actually trying to integrate the offline with the online with the offline experience, in which the consumer is trying to use her app to actually pay for her purchase offline. So Habitat is also a cashless place, so customers can simply take up their app and actually scan the items, and after they scan the items they can actually leave the place. So for Habitat by Honestbee, why it is special is that besides it being cashless transactions, the focus is also about food, because we have found that if you are in a fashion store, you can actually look at how the clothes dress, how the model is wearing the clothes, but for food, it's actually very subjective. And for example, you might like a particular fish and chip, but another customers might not like the particular fish and chip. This is why Habitat by Honestbee is also an opportunity for us to feature our own food brands. And currently, we have 19 food brands at Habitat by Honestbee. So the second trend that I want to talk about is last mile delivery. as e-commerce improve and boost in Southeast Asia, there's also rising customer expectations for faster delivery. This is because of the expectation shift in terms of consumers who have now come to expect same-day delivery for their online purchases. This has also led to a diversity of delivery options. So for example, we have Popbox Asia in Indonesia, who lets customers deposit their items as well as collect their online purchase. And in fact, Washbox24 in Thailand is also a revenue for customers to actually collect their laundry. In fact, in Singapore, we also have an innovative startup called Park and Puzzle, which actually allows you to collect your online purchase from your neighbor home. The third trend that I would like to mention is social commerce. The thing that is unique about Southeast Asia is that more than 80% of the users in Southeast Asia is actually using social media to research products or connect with users before their purchase. And as well as we know that Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines, Thailand, they are among the top 10 most engaged countries on mobile internet globally. So we have all know that social commerce is highly influencing customers. So I guess the next biggest question that everybody wants to know now is, how do you keep delighting Asian shoppers who seems to be more connected, better informed, and more demanding by the day? So the answer to that is content marketing. So for Honestbee, believe in creating content not just to sell, but to educate, delight, and inspire, because we believe in building relationships with our customers, and relationships are built on trust, and trust drives revenue. So here are some of the case studies that Honestbee has done that particularly is really engaging with our customers. So when we are talking about content, is how can we use content to educate customers, and how do we use content to help customers make better decisions. So one example is how we have a section on Instagram right now, Instagram story section that actually highlights certain products that we carry and how they actually bring more benefits to customers' life. A trend that we have noticed in Southeast Asia is that more customers are turning towards videos, and this is why gradually we are actually recording more Instagram stories, because we find that more customers are actually engaging with them more. So this is one of the content buckets that we actually use to educate our customers. Some other ways that Honestbee in Singapore is using is showing tips and hacks. How can you actually cook your food in a different way that allows you to have a different value for it. So another interesting trend that we have found is that gradually people are more interested to the products itself than which retailer they are buying from. So this has led us to procuring very unique SKUs that other retailer does not have, and showcasing them in actually a unique way that actually attract and retains people's eyeball, which is why we want to be known as the place that bring in innovative SKU that other brands does not have as well. So finally, I just sharing some of the social media checklists that all our countries go through. So when we are always creating a social media post, there's always these reminders that we ask ourselves: does our content make life moments better for our audience? Does our post inspire action? Does our post inspire discovery? Does our post excite and delight? So we have a case study that I want to show that features Honestbee Singapore, Honestbee Philippines, because in Honestbee we believe in being with our customers throughout their life journey, and we want to pick teams that will really engage with them and showcase what they are feeling at the moment. So I would like to show this video that we did, to highlight a summer theme that we did. So one of the things that we are very conscious of is, how do we keep highlighting our brand? Even after we put all the content there, how do we let them remember that it's from Honestbee? So some of the ways that we have to do is using our bee mascot and putting it, in our content. So this is a very high level view of the different content touchpoints that we have that might be slightly different from how usual content providers view their content. This is because for Honestbee, besides having an online medium, we do actually have an offline space as well. But if you look at this high level graph, actually they all connect together to provide content touch points that we interact with our customers very often. So for example, we have an online space, and instead of thinking of blogs, articles, one of the way that we are trying to do is to integrate content directly into our app through the product information. So for example, if they go to Honestbee, when they look at the pineapple, we will tell them what's the source of origin for this pineapple, why should they pay for this pineapple over the pineapple from other countries. So for offline, it's slightly interesting for us as well, because there's different medium that we are experimenting with, and all this content is really about helping our customers make better purchase decisions. So this one case study in which we brought in different kind of variety of rice, and our key idea is how can we showcase the different information about rice that help customers make better decisions. So after we put the content there, this is actually a very successful case study, because after we put the content there, you can see that the rice is completely sold out. Another case study that we show is for the fruits and veggies section. How do we put the information about fruit so that when customers go there, we make sure that they are armed with the best information they have to purchase the best SKU. So this is an example of how of evergreen content that we create so that we can educate our customers and inspire them in their buying decision as well. So one very important thing about content is that we need to change the content frequently. So even for the medium that we use, we try to ensure that it's easy to change so that we can always provide the most updated information to our customers. Another example of offline content in Habitat is actually how we aim to do cross-selling. So for example, if you go to our Honestbee app right now, we are actually showing recommendations. For example, if you buy some nuts, you might want to purchase a beer to go with the nuts as well. But when we are looking at content offline, one of the things that we are experimenting with is the placement of SKU. Does the drink section really need to be so far together, so far apart from the nut section, or can we actually place all these SKU together so that when the customers look at a nut, they'll be like, hey, the beer SKU is just next to it, why don't I just grab the beer as well? So I have come to the end of my presentation, and I would like to hand the presentation over to David.
Thank you very much, Yilin, for your insights and sharing the knowledge with us of your company, Honestbee. I would now like to welcome back everyone for the discussion round, because we already got a lot of questions for each of you. But I will start directly with a question to you, Yilin. We got someone, he's referring to the video, as I assume. He asked a question about the interpersonal contact. Is the shopping experience, like with the interpersonal contact, are people missing the interpersonal contact? Did you get feedback about that, or how do you handle this?
Sure. So for us, there's a lot of things about the shopping experience that people love, and there's things about the shopping experience that people don't love. So when we are looking at the customer journey in the retail space, we look around and we talk to our customers to figure out what frustrates you. And the number one answer is always queue. After I pick my items, why do I still need to wait in the queue? And this is our solution to trying to eliminate the queue problem. But if you happen to come to our store, you'll notice that we have a lot of concierge fees, and the idea is that some tasks can be replaced by machine because they do not add any value, but we still believe in creating the personal connection with customers. And by actually replacing the tasks with machinery, now the humans actually have more time to talk to the customers to actually tell them, hey, the mangoes are in season now. Why don't you try our mango instead of saying, hey, let me scan your items. Yeah.
Ah, okay, I understand. So there are also people still in the shop, so it's not that they are totally out of the experience. I see your point. And since I know that Honest Bee is also in different markets, maybe as we can see in Europe, we are not that far. We are far away from the vision that you just showed us about Southeast Asia. So what do you think, are there different target markets? Do they have different opinions about what the real shopping experience is supposed to look like? Or do you adapt your strategy in the different countries that you are operating?
Sure. So I think for e-commerce, one of the things that retailers know and realize is that localization is very important. So localization in terms of selection of SKU. For example, Singapore audience really love Japanese snacks, which is why we have such a huge selection. But if they are opening in Japan, then obviously Japanese snacks are something that's commonplace to you. And other trends that we have looked at and studied is about the size of the store. For example, Habitat by Honest Bee right now is 60,000 square feet. That's such a space. Sorry. So, for example, does such a big space actually works for other countries? And maybe the way that we are experimenting is the size of the retail space, because with smaller space, you can actually go right into the neighborhood and engage more of the local communities.
And that's already the next questions. At the moment you're focusing on Southeast Asia, and we got the questions, are you already planning on expanding to different regions, like for example Europe, or how would be the strategy if you want to go on European target markets?
Sure. I think for Honest Bee, Southeast Asia space is very interesting because e-commerce is booming here, and what we really want is create more ecosystem for our customers to interact with us and really build that community before we actually consider moving to other regions. Yes, so I would say that in the short term, that's not something that we will look at, because we really want to build closer relationship with our customers in Southeast Asia.
Okay, but do you also monitor the trends outside of Southeast Asia, for example, America, the US, or Europe? Do you know what the trends there would be at the moment?
Yeah, so for trends for groceries, there's three big things that all customers care about. So, the first thing that customers really care about for groceries is selection. If I go to a store to get a toothbrush, the store must stock toothpaste as well. So the second thing is value. So as a customer, when I go to your store, how do I ensure that I'm getting the best value for money? And the third thing is about convenience. When people are always shopping online, it's about, because I want to save time, I want to spend more time with my family. So actually, when we analyze the US market, when we analyze the Euro market, all the players there are actually trying to solve all these problems, just that they might apply different solutions.
Okay. Thank you. So the next question is for Baus. Baus, we got the question. You mentioned shortly what the platform GetCraft is about, and also in terms of influencer marketing. Do you know if a platform like this exists in Europe, or with the target market of the German market, let's put it this way? Because we got the question, how can we find the right micro-influencer for an Austrian company with the target market of the German-speaking countries?
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily know if there is a similar business that the way GetCraft does what it offers in a German market. But I think the best piece of advice I can give is actually I have this guide on basically how to look for influencers, how to judge based on authority, relevance, creativity, and price. So that's basically what you always just need to look at. You need to look at how many followers, of course, a particular influencer has. But of course, from a more qualitative lens, you really need to take a look at the feed of the influencer. Are they just basically copy pasting brand messages, or are they translating the message of the brand in their own language? Because that really is the role of the influencer, is to make sure that a brand message is stretched into something that will be relevant to a millennial, will be relevant to a mom, will be relevant to a single dad. So that is the role of the influencer. So when you do encounter influencers in Germany, those are the things that you need to look out for.
Great. Thank you for the explanation. And going back to this point, we also got a question about micro-influencer. What exactly is a macro-influencer and how to find them when they are smaller and they are not a well-known influencer?
A micro-influencer really is just about the total number of followers. The same metric that we apply here in the Philippines is basically if you have about 10,000 to 100,000 followers, we consider you as a micro-influencer. If you have 10,000 followers and below, we now, actually, I just found out about this about 3 weeks ago. Apparently, we now call you a nano-influencer.
Okay.
So that's how we look at it. So from when you're from 100,000 to 500,000, you're a mid-tier. When you're 500,000 to a million, you're a macro. And usually when you have about 1 million followers and up, you will most likely be a local celebrity already here, meaning, you act, you dance, you sing. But that's basically how we tier it. The great thing with micro-influencers is that most of these are really digital natives. They really want to be full-time influencers. So they really take the time in flexing their creative juices and making sure that they properly translate and breathe a much fuller life into your brand messages.
Okay, thank you. Another question for you, Baus. We got the question, you mentioned before the different platforms such as social, Facebook or WeChat. The question is, what are the biggest platforms, or can you approximately name the shares of each different social media platform in Southeast Asia maybe, or in the Philippines?
I can only, I guess, speak for the Philippines. We're actually a Facebook/Instagram country because Instagram is also owned by Facebook. There was a time about 5-6 years ago when Tencent tried to enter the market via WeChat, but unfortunately they weren't able to sustain it. So we are primarily a Facebook country, and I think globally as well, we really are the number one social media with about 2.1 billion users, I think, already. So even if they're not the leading even if they're not as big in your country, the fact that they are leading globally can actually add to the credibility of how you do your content marketing on Facebook.
Mm-hmm. So I got another question also for you. How much should a company place in social media ads versus how much should a company try to get organic growth? Maybe you can answer first, Baus, and Yilin can then add her side of the story.
Yeah, the way to look at this is basically every brand has to go through a test and learn model, meaning you need to boost a couple of posts first for about $100 or $50 and find out for every $1 you spend, how many views do you actually get? It's going to be different for every brand, mainly because it's a different target market, it's a different behavior. But what you need to do is make sure you test right away so that you fail as fast, so that you can optimize. So that's really the way to do it. Having said that, the usual split that we see really is about for 80% for your total reach. If you pay, for example, if you pay for 100,000 reach, ideally you should get about 15 to 20% organic reach, sorry. And if you get something more than that, more or less, you can already be considered as either having very good content, because your organic reach got to exceed the paid reach. But more importantly, if the organic reach actually exceeds the paid reach, that's when you actually reach a viral status. That's you just need a little money to just spread the word, but eventually it's spreaded like wildfire because you had such good content.
Okay, that's the goal which we're all aiming for, and hopefully some or most of us can achieve it as well. Yilin, do you want to add something to this question?
So I think both works in parallel, but like what was mentioned, it's really important to make sure that you create good content before you actually boost it, because nowadays, in a bid to get better content to their audience, Facebook has actually tried to penalize people that boost content that is not so good. So, when you're actually boosting content that's not so good, you might be actually paying more rather than, when you're actually boosting a good content. So that's one very important piece of lesson. And of course, there's also a saying nowadays that there's no such thing as viral content, because all viral content are actually boosted by the companies before it reach a critical mass. And when you reach a critical mass, that's when people start sharing more, and that's how it becomes viral. Yeah, so that's my 2 cents on boosting your content versus organic content.
Okay, I got a further question regarding CRM. One of you, I'm not sure the question is either Tobias or Yelin, how do you integrate the different channels automatically in one system? Maybe, I'm not sure which one of you to mention that. Maybe Baus, did you mention that about the CRM, and how can you integrate the different channels automatically in one system?
Yeah, at the top of my head, internally, the way we operate at work, we use a few CRM tools. There's Streak, and then there's also HubSpot. Basically, those are great CRM tools just to make sure that, for every person that interacts with the article of your website, how many of those actually came in with an email inquiry. So if you look at Streak or HubSpot, or actually just similar CRM tools, or actually be true to digital and just Google best CRM tools, free CRM tools, because usually these things are paid for, but best that you get to try a free subscription first, so that eventually you will know what you will need to pay for.
Okay. And Yelin, maybe you can add your experience. Which CRM systems are you using, or what can you give for an advice to an Austrian company?
So one of the tools that we are really using is called Brace. So it allows us to segment our users and send them very personalized emails, because we found that if you send users content that they don't find as value, they will tend to unsubscribe, which is why we are very careful to send our customers relevant information. And these tools allow us to send push notification as well as connects to the other medium that we have. So that's the learning point we have, that that you have to actually segment your customers to send them personalized information, and CRM is really important to do that, because if you don't have a good CRM tool, you might not be able to send personalized recommendation to your users.
Mm-hmm. We got another question for you, Bas, looking into the future. We all know that online marketing is developing pretty fast, and that when we look to Southeast Asia, you are one of the early adopters. So from your point of view, in saying 1 or 2 years from now, or maybe 5 years, what are the new trends?
I think more than trends, what I can talk about really are just universal human truths that have stayed the same. At the end of the day, these are just platforms, these are just technologies and innovation. But like what Yelin said a while ago, before you boost something, it has to be of good quality first. So you have to, at the end of the day, the reason why people go online is to be inspired. So they want to be moved, they want to feel something. So I think that's always going to be the #1 priority, whether or not we shift from stories that will only last 4 hours long or even much shorter. It's really making sure that at the end of the day, the good litmus test is, if you have a piece of content in front of you, before you post it, will I actually post this myself? Will I share this myself? Or is this just posting something for the sake of having a brand do content? So there.
Okay, and in terms of new platforms, are there already some new platforms we should have a closer look to, which might become more important in the future?
I think it's always to just take a look at how Facebook and Instagram updates their app updates, because that means that the user experience continues to evolve. So I'm sure some of you have already seen that there's a Facebook marketplace already where you can actually sell things on Facebook. So that is actually related to this worldwide trend of e-commerce booming, because they see that more than social networking people, there is a big opportunity to sell things while they are networking. So I think what we need to really observe is that if you're not doing e-commerce now, you will be left in the dust. So you have to start sooner, or you have to start by today.
Thank you, Bas. One last question to Yilin. We got the question, how's Honestbee feeding their CRM system with all the data which they require from the people?
So, in every country, is one of the things that we don't really talk about for CRM is that there's privacy issues also. So, when we actually collect the information from customers, we are very careful about what kind of information that we collect. And then we make sure that we don't really store all the sensitive information. So about our CRM is really trying to find out, okay, maybe this customers has purchased mangoes a lot of times. So that if we have any information about mangoes, how can we segment the data and send the mangoes promotions to this particular group of people that like mangoes. So internally we have a database, and before we actually send information to customers, we actually dig into our database to segment the customers before using the CRM to actually send the information to our group of customers.
Thank you for the explanations. We have a lot of questions left, but unfortunately the time is running out. So I would ask one final question to you, Bas, again. You mentioned Instagram is to inspire, Facebook to reach and engage, and then the website to convince. So as we know, there are a lot of different platforms in addition to that, but just having those big platforms. For an Austrian company, is it always necessary to have or to use all the platforms, or are there some cases where we or the company can choose just to focus on one or maybe two of them?
I think it's always great to start with those three, mainly because if a website will cost you something, it's still, it's still infrastructure for the brand. Facebook and Instagram are free. So again, I go back to the test and learn thing. If you actually get more from your $100 on Facebook versus Instagram, you need to find that out for yourself before you actually just limit yourself first. So that's the great thing with digital. You can actually know what works, and if it doesn't work, you do less of that and you do more of what works. So my advice really is to get started in those things because those are free, and then see eventually what is the best fit for your brand.
Perfect. Thank you. I think that's some great last words. It's always a learning, a trial and error, I guess, a lifelong full of learning with all the new platforms occurring. So thank you very much to all of you, to Bas, to Yilin, and of course Christina and David. Thank you so much for being here today, sharing your knowledge and answering all the different questions we got from other Austrian companies. So thank you again. I will now switch back in German just for some last announcement. Thank you. Ja, wir hoffen, mit dem heutigen Kreativwirtschaftswebinar konnten wir euch einen kleinen Einblick geben, erste Ideen, was sich so im Bereich Content Marketing in Südostasien tut, Anknüpfungspunkte, wo man vielleicht noch weiter recherchieren kann und dass ihr auch etwas für euer eigenes Geschäftsmodell mitnehmen konntet und das vielleicht auch gleich in mögliche Anfragen oder Projekte mit euren Kundinnen und Kunden überführen könnt. Wenn ihr sonst noch Fragen habt, Informationen euch vernetzen möchtet in Österreich, dann sind wir, die Kreativwirtschaft Austria, die richtige die richtige Ansprechstelle. Das heißt, ihr könnt euch gerne an mich oder auch generell an unser Team wenden. Ihr findet alle Informationen auf kreativwirtschafts.at auf unserer Webseite oder auf Facebook, Kreativwirtschaft Austria. Dort teilen wir Informationen zu unseren kostenfreien Services, wie zum Beispiel den Kreativwirtschaftshandbüchern zu unterschiedlichen Themen, unsere Veranstaltungen. Die nächste Veranstaltung findet gleich nächsten Montag, am 8. April, zum Thema Risikokapital statt in Wien, aber es gibt auch eine Live-Übertragung online oder ihr könnt euch in Österreich bei einem der 8 unterschiedlichen lokalen Netzwerktreffen in ganz Österreich treffen, euch vernetzen und gemeinsam die Live-Übertragung anschauen. Risikokapital passt perfekt, wenn man vielleicht jetzt durch das Webinar inspiriert wurde und gleich ein neues Projekt umsetzen möchte. Sonst, wenn ihr jetzt Lust bekommen habt, euch Kooperationspartner im Ausland zu suchen, vielleicht in das eine oder andere Land in Südostasien zu expandieren oder noch nähere Informationen dazu haben wollt, dann wendet euch an die Außenwirtschaft Austria. Sie kümmert sich und unterstützt euch bei allen Exportangelegenheiten, die ihr habt. Und in dem Sinn freue ich mich, dass ihr alle wieder mit dabei wart und hoffe euch auch beim nächsten Webinar, das ist schon am 8. Mai, wieder willkommen zu heißen. Das ist von 15 bis 16 Uhr, diesmal dann live aus Europa, aus Budapest zum Thema Design. Danke für die anregenden Diskussionen und die vielen Fragen und bis zum nächsten Mal. Schönen Tag noch.